What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Tim, back with another video. And in today's video, I wanted to talk to the growing number of people that I'm seeing on the internet and that I'm talking to in real life who are just over it, okay? They're like, I'm done with it, this monotonous, mundane life. I'm ready to just like sell it all, get me an RV, hit the road. You know, I'm gonna let the car go back to the bank. I'm gonna sublease the apartment. I'm selling all this stuff I don't need, and I'm moving to Bali. You know, just so many people that I'm seeing, more and more people who are just on the verge of or seriously considering taking these drastic measures so they can get out there, see the country, see the world, and like live their life. And first and foremost, I want to say, folks, I am all for this. I was on that type of time back in 2014. You know what I mean? Almost a decade ago. That's where my mind state was. I sold 90% of my possessions and I hit the road. And I've been living a nomadic lifestyle since then, and it's truly amazing. So I highly recommend, if you're thinking about doing that, it can be a wonderful, very fulfilling lifestyle. However, in today's video, I just wanted to talk about some of the things maybe you should consider, okay? A lot of times on the internet, us influencers and content creators, we're very good about telling you the glamorous and the good side of things. We're not as good about telling you maybe, the not so glamorous side. The things you have to deal with, the things you have to contend with. So I just want to talk about, some of the things that I've noticed kind of living a very simple kind of nomadic life. And one of the first things I want to mention, and this was a lesson I learned early on, okay? I learned within the first 3 months or so of my travels, is that you can't run from your problems, okay? If there are some things that are genuinely problems like that you're facing, that is you. Now, if it's a problem that is based on your location, yeah, if you leave the location, problem solved. But if you are dealing with a internal problem, if you're dealing with a personal problem, you can't run from that, okay? And you will just take that problem with you. And what might end up happening is that that problem might sabotage your new lifestyle, your new journey, okay? That's what kind of happened to me. The problem I was dealing with was drinking, and I took that problem on the road with me, my first seasonal job. How I started traveling, until this day I still do this, but I work at seasonal, short-term travel jobs. I go work in this instance, it was Yellowstone National Park for the summer. I had like a 4-month contract. I brought my drinking problem with me. I ended up getting fired from Yellowstone National Park because of my drinking. And that let me see like, oh, Tim, you can't, your problems come with you. So if you're thinking there's something in your life like, oh man, if I, start living like this, I won't have to deal with that. If it's a personal problem, you're going to take it with you. However, I will say this. I do think my new lifestyle is what helped me to get over that problem, right? If I had just stayed back home in Florida and continued doing what I was doing, I don't think I would have stopped drinking. Fortunately, we're over that problem now. We kicked it a few years back. I don't think if I'd stayed in like my original lifestyle, I would have kicked the problem. Okay, so I think being on the road, traveling around, and being afraid that this problem was going to continue to mess up this new life of mine is what helped me quit. But just keep that in mind. Another thing I wanted you to keep in mind, and once again, folks, these are not to scare you. Go for it. Do it. It's great. But I just want to, reiterate everything, it's not all roses and rainbows. It can be, second point, it can be a pretty lonely life. Okay? Even though traveling does allow me to spend more time with people I love, that's my motto in life, do what you love with people you love. Between those times, you know what I mean? There are some pretty lonely times. Especially when I'm just traveling, staying in hotels and Airbnbs, or times when I had my Prius and I was road tripping. There were some pretty lonely times. And like, I enjoy being alone. I'm an introvert, I'm a lone wolf, I'm a loner. I enjoy being alone. But when you're alone large amounts of time, it can start to get to you, okay? And that's usually when I schedule going back to work, or I'll decide, okay, next month I need to go see a friend of mine. And there's ways you can work around it. But just know, it will not always be, you hanging out with people, you meeting up with people, just always, in community. There will probably be times where it's just you by yourself, alone, on the road, and like you have to learn how to deal with that. And if that sounds like something you're like, oh, that sounds like heaven, and it can be, cool. But just know there can be some lonely times and it can start to get to you. Because once again, all the stuff you've dealing with before, you're dealing with now. And now if it's just you and you have no support system, you know, it can be kind of lonely. So you got to kind of have to like plan for that and make sure you set aside time to be around people. Make sure you prioritize like calling people on the phone or messaging people, or like sometimes you got to be proactive with it, because you can find yourself just like slipping into like a depression or a rut when it's just you in your car on the road all the time, or just you staring at the walls in your hotel room all the time. So that's something important to remember. Another thing kind of along those lines is, when you go away, there's a lot of things that you're going to miss out on. There's a lot of stuff back home. Friends might be having kids. People might be having birthdays if you celebrate them, holidays if you celebrate them. Lots of stuff goes on. And when you leave, you're not going to be a part of that. Okay? And this may not seem like a big thing, and it may not be, but it is something to remember. Okay? It's like you are going to miss out on a lot of things that take place back home, wherever home was, if you're out on the road, if you're traveling. That's just part of it. And that's a sacrifice you have to be willing to make. There are a lot of sacrifices that come with living this lifestyle. And once again, if you don't think about it, it can hit you hard when 2 years pass and like your nieces and nephews, are starting to grow up, or, your parents or whatever, like just things will happen and you will not be there. And it's just good to know that up front before you make the decision, because there's lots of sacrifices with this lifestyle. Okay? You're going to be living a lifestyle that most people are not going to understand. So you're going to go through life having to explain to people and them not understand it, why you're living in an RV, living in a van, living overseas, or doing whatever it is you're doing, because it's not the normal lifestyle. Now, eventually, I feel like most people get to a point where you stop trying to justify it. In the beginning, you'll try to justify it. Oh, I'm living free, I'm saving more money, I'm doing so and so. It doesn't matter how many explanations you give people, they're not going to get it. Eventually, you just realize that one of the things you have to accept with this lifestyle is that people are going to think you're broke. People are going to think you're crazy. People are going to think you're a slacker. They're just not going to get it. And when you come to terms with that, actually, it really helps you to stop caring what people think. Okay? Because if you're out and you're doing what you want to do and it's making you happy, and then you see that just so many people don't get it, you realize that other people's opinions don't matter. See, in the old world, where like a lot of the things that meant something to you or you thought meant something to you also meant something to other people. So their opinions really mattered because y'all was kind of on the same wavelength, right? But when you start living this different life and like most people don't get it, but it's making you happy, it's bringing you joy, you realize, oh, what people think about me has no bearing on my happiness, has no bearing on my joy, unless I let it rob me of my joy. But it can be difficult in the beginning because people don't get it. And you'll be surprised that like you might lose friendships over it. People won't really rock with you no more. You're like, wait a second, I'm out here just trying to do some things to make me happy and enrich my life, and you're getting mad? Like, I'm not saying you need to change your life and come out here, in the desert with me. I'm just doing what I do, and people are getting mad and don't want to talk to me. It's crazy. You might lose some friends. Family might stop rocking with you. But I also think that allows you too to see how deep the programming is. That allows you to see how brainwashed a lot of people are when you just try to like do you, and it turns them off. They so triggered they can't even call you no more. But it can be hard. It is hard. Especially when going back to the first, one of the earlier points, when you're dealing with this like alone, and the people you trying to, check in with to cut, through some of the loneliness, aren't rocking with you anymore because you're not living a normal life or living right. A lot of little stuff that just comes with it. And once again, this is in no way saying don't live this lifestyle, because I think it's amazing. But there's stuff I just want to talk about in this video. Also, now if you've got like a remote job and you're making great money on the road, this doesn't apply to you. But for a lot of us, when we decide to hit the road, live these alternative lifestyles, we're just trying to find different ways to get the money to come in. And in a lot of cases, these aren't big money ways. Sometimes it might be. Not saying you can't find a way to get your coins heavy and be on the road, but a lot of times they won't be. And you'll be dealing with financial insecurities a lot, okay? We're especially if you're used to always doing okay and always having, decent amount of money in the bank and always having a steady paycheck and always having a good job. If this is the first time maybe you've lived, kind of below the below middle class, or maybe this is the first time you had to buy a ticket to the struggle bus, or cut your expenses, and not be bringing in as much income, it can be hard to do. Okay, it can get stressful when, I won't say you're constantly worried about money, but when you're constantly kind of having to think about it. Okay, when you don't have that steady paycheck coming in, when you don't have that big money coming in, and it's just kind of like, I'm finding little ways, different ways to make money, and I'm making it. But when you know that if one or two different things happen, you might be broke. You might be broke. Okay? Like, that is one of the things that come with it. And as time goes on, you get more comfortable with it. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that, like, over time, that can start to get to you too. Like, it's weird, like, you'll get more comfortable with it, but having dealt with it for years and years and years on end, sometimes, like, it can just be a little overwhelming just going through that for so long. For example, like, that's why a few years back I got an apartment in Denver for a little bit, because I just was like, the financial kind of insecurity and also the lack of having a set place to stay insecurity, it just got to be too much. So I was like, I'm gonna get an apartment in Denver. I'm gonna work some jobs in Denver. Like, I'm just gonna be somewhere for a while where I can have something definite set up, right? Because it can wear on you over time, because it's always in the back of your mind, not bringing in a lot of money, boom, 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 boom. Now, the fact that you're out doing what you want to do, like I said, over outweighs that. And so that's why, like, for myself, I continue to live this lifestyle, because, the lifestyle and the things I get from it, the places I've been able to see, the people I've been able to meet, the experiences, the happiness it brings me, it outweighs those thoughts. But they are there. They are there. If you're living in a vehicle, just the constant worry about the vehicle breaking down, it's there. Me living in like hotels and Airbnbs, if I ever get broke, I got no home to go back to. You know what I mean? Like, I think, like, if I'm broke, I'm done. If I run out of money, I'm on the street. You know what I mean? So, like, that stuff, depending on how extreme you get with your lifestyle, that stuff will be in the back of your mind. And I know for a lot of people, and this isn't judgment of them, but I just think for a lot of people can't handle that long term because it is stressful. So that's just something to keep in mind and ask yourself. And you may have to just find out doing it. Hit the road and find out. But, like, just ask yourself, can I deal with that constant, uncertainty and insecurity? Because it's there. And, when all these things are constantly on you, you'll start to really understand, like, oh, I see why. Well, between the brainwashing and all this stuff you got to deal with, I see why a lot of people just don't live this lifestyle. I see why a lot of people think this lifestyle is crazy. And that's why I think a lot of people live it for a couple years, then they go back to normal life, and that's fine. I applaud anyone who tries out a life of travel, a nomadic lifestyle for any length of time, right? Because some people will never do it. So any length of time is good to get out there, learn some new things, see some new stuff, bring some new experiences into your life. That's learning. if it's a year, if it's 2 years, if it's 10 years, you know, but you might get out there and realize like, hey, this is what I should have already been doing. You know, you're going to have problems and you're going to have stressors and there's going to be insecurities and there's going to be worries in any lifestyle you lead, right? Whether it's a normal life, an abnormal life, it's just like kind of the ones in a normal life we're used to. You know, we've had them most of our life. Everybody else has them. When you start living an alternative lifestyle, an abnormal life, sometimes you get hit with these things you're not expecting them, because we've only heard about the positives and the glitz and the glamour and the digital nomad lifestyle. So I just wanted to make this video, break down some things you may have to deal with, you may encounter. If you have any questions about living this lifestyle, please leave them in the comment box below. I would like to do some more videos like this, tailored to any questions you might have. So yeah, just leave in the comment box below. I love each and every one of y'all. I'll talk to y'all soon.